Talk About It show. I'm BlaQ Ops.
Hey, this is Wunda.
And it's the 6-man Dean Geronimo. Let's get it in. It's time to roll.
It's time to roll. Listen, as we always do, we enjoy our viewers out there on the Facebook Live, Twitter, and all the platforms that we come off of. We appreciate your commentary. Our last show was incredible. The numbers were incredible, and we appreciate the viewing audience and especially the commentary. Matter of fact, when I was at a Black Lives Matter rally, I saw some of our fans, if you will, and they came up to me and said, hey, we appreciate what you guys do. Keep doing what you do. So big up to those folks who came up to me and noticed me with my mask on, that it was BlaQ Ops in the crowd. We appreciate you. How you say it? Dean Geronimo, we appreciate you.
We appreciate you. That's right. That's how we do.
We
appreciate you.
All right. But as I always do, I'm going to go around the panel and say what's up to everybody.
Yeah,
so I'm going to start off here with Wunda. What's good, Wunda?
What's up, man? We're here.
Yeah.
Thursday, almost weekend. Just trying to get through the week. Trying to, move carefully under this pandemic of two pandemics, one biological, one social, and so we're here, man.
Right. And listen, here's the thing too. Like this climate, this cautious climate that we have to move around in has everybody a little bit on edge. Like it's a double-edged sword here. You got the pandemic on one end, then you got the Black Lives Matter movement, and then also when you're driving out there, you got to say, hey, you looking over your shoulder for the police, right? It's a lot going on right now.
Indeed.
A lot. So, but Wunda, listen, I'm not going to let you off the hook, right? Just because we're not in studio and we have to do this remote thing, I see you rocking another dashiki, I believe it is. Am I wrong?
Well, this is an old one. I just haven't worn it in a good while.
You keep telling me that. You keep that every time, and I never see these old ones, right? I just see them popping up. It's kind of like that.
I have well, not so many, but I have enough. But I've actually worn it a few times. But yeah, man. Listen, I mean, and I was in the city. Last Sunday, so I have. Now I didn't go to any areas where they were selling clothes, but I've been told that parts of the city are open, and so we can have one for next.
2 or 3 years now we've been making our way to New York. Back in the day, we would be in New York 3 or 4 times a day, right?
Right.
I just want to know, how can I be down? That's it. That's all.
Terrible.
And I'm not ordering offline because it's something that you and I got to do. So you let me know, and I'm ready.
Man, I will. I will. I haven't forgotten about you.
All right. Always a pleasure. Dean Geronimo, what's good with
man.
you?
Hanging on like an old loose tooth.
Ain't
making no noise out here. Just finished painting in the living room. We're putting that back together. So just trying to lay back a little bit,
Listen, it's that season. I think every man in America, every man in the viewing audience, and women, I don't want to discriminate, because we'll have it in the comments like, we do stuff too, right? So listen, I think every crack in the wall for every man or woman has been spackled that owns a home. Yep. Every she shed put up, right? Every wall painted that has been looking to be painted over the past. I don't know. You know how we do. Like, when I get around to, I'm gonna paint that. But I think all of that is about done. So good on it. I know.
Yeah, power washing is next.
On you. Yeah. So all right.
That's what we do, though. You know what I mean? Better to do it and have it to do than to wish you could do it and not be able to do it at all. So,
amen. I had a discussion with somebody earlier today talking about living their best life. They go to the University of Georgia, and they were just, walking through life and, the direction they should go in. And I told them, I said, if I could go back to me at 20, even though I think in the end I worked out okay, but I would tell any young person, carpe diem, seize the day and live your best life. The path that you want to lay out for yourself. So it was a great conversation, and I believe they took away some nuggets, as we say. Okay. And very sharp individual right there at the University of Georgia. So I always get like the free T-shirts and hat. I'm like, hey, I'm like a father figure to him, so it's all good. But and you got your fish. Is it a fish fry that's coming up?
Oh, something like that. It's gonna be
something
a little get together for the birthday. You know what I mean? Just a few people ain't trying to. We ain't opening it up to the public because we used to do that back in the days and realize we were feeding some people that we shouldn't have even given water to, and so we got our little invite list, and we gonna do that. My birthday is at the end of next month, the last day. Yep. Hers starts off the 1st of August, so 2-day thing, just something because she wanted to do something.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there. I don't miss those unless I'm out of town. I've been there from like the first one, so I'm gonna be there. But listen, before we jump into the topics of the day, let's jump to the barbecue too, because we in that season. Memorial Day just passed. Somebody answer me this one question. And you can help me out too. This is to the panel here. Listen, why is it that the person who comes to the house with a pack of hot dogs to contribute walks out with all the plates? Somebody help me out with that.
Listen, what? You have givers and you have takers. And unfortunately, barbecues attract a lot of takers, my brother.
They come early. They wait. They'll be patient as I don't know what. They'll be waiting. You're like, yo, we haven't cooked anything yet. No, that's cool. I'll wait. And then they're there when you're breaking stuff down. So they start helping you break down the tables and chairs, right? And then you realize it's a stack of plates over here.
Plate.
You're about to throw them in the trash because you don't know what it is. They're like, no. That's mine. You know what?
And they have these mysterious relatives that all of a sudden they care about, and this is why they're bringing all these plates back with them.
Yeah, my Uncle Junie need a plate. Like, man, no, we can't do it like that. What's going on? You know what I mean?
No, you know what? This is the warning sign. When they ask this one question, and it's going to make perfect sense to everybody, if you're an audience and everybody, when they say, hey, where's the aluminum foil at?
Yeah. It's over, dog. It's over.
Coming. Oh, my goodness.
They're going to say, you know what? And then nobody ever asks why. You just say, oh, the aluminum foil, man, it's right over there. And then 20 minutes later.
You see him walking out, right.
Yeah, they take all the plates. Like, come on, dog. You're killing me right now.
Killing the game. But listen, as always, and we appreciate you, Dean Geronimo, as we get moving along in the show. Listen, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the super producer. She couldn't be on the show today. She had, I believe she had surgery on her thumb. So let's keep her in our prayers and hope she heals up fast. And also Miss E. I saw her again on LinkedIn doing her thing, and Miss E's always here if she could be. So shout out to Miss E, and we appreciate once again the CEO making it happen. Like a lot of people don't see, as we call it, the pre-production that goes into this, but he's always right there on time, and he has it set up. So big up to the CEO with that. But with that said, it's time to jump into the show a little bit. Get the juices flowing. I always start out with the BlaQ Ops. Let's keep it real moment. I wish we could have the comment because our commentary is incredible, especially as the week unfolds and folks go back and revisit the show. Like, there's really a no kidding audience that follows the Let's Talk About It show, and it's greatly appreciated. But just to dive in, so I'm going to start off with my Let's Keep It Real moment, and it's a good one. So I'm going to rattle the cages a little bit. I'm going to jump into Colin Kaepernick. That's where I'm going to go, right? That's where I'm going to go, right? Let's just keep it real, like the entire time, because people want to make the argument about the flag versus the injustice that's being done when you're pulled over for a routine traffic stop. Nothing has changed since he's taken the first knee to this moment as far as his stance or his position. Listen, I'm a 24 and a half year uniform wear for the United States, and I get it. And listen, I believe in the fundamental principles of this country. It has nothing like, if I could echo where Drew Brees messed up at, it has nothing to do with the flag. Zero. But let's keep it real. Colin Kaepernick was right the entire time. And America is just, let me not say America, those who really concern themselves with his position in the NFL understand that he was right. It took a lot for Goodell to actually come out, take that big ass pill or that big plate of crow and swallow that and say, you know what? Even though he didn't say his name, he said he was right. And now the door has opened for him to come back to the NFL. And this is what I do appreciate.
You took the money though, dog. Like, you took that settlement money. They're not taking you back, man. They're gonna set you up for the fall. Be careful of how you move now, because now, you know what I'm saying? Like, you were right. You should have stood on principle, like, nah, Jack, I'm not selling for nothing. Y'all about to eat this because I know I'm right. You know what I'm saying? When I know I'm right, I'm not gonna give in. I don't give a damn how much you give me, because I'm gonna force you to give me more when you have to publicly prove, not later on down the road, not with the girlfriend that's kind of getting in the way. She needs to move. And if he's smart, he'll let her go because she's more of a problem for him than anything else. But now, what kind of setup is getting ready to happen, man? That's just my brain running like that, because it's like, all right, we paid you, and then we had all this extra. Yeah, it never was about the flag. It never was about the anthem, but it was a great sidetrack move because nobody wanted to address police brutality.
Right.
You know.
And it's funny because now the commentators, if you will, the talking heads of football, and this is what I do appreciate about the commentators. They all acknowledged that Kaepernick was right, but then they came back at him for football, and I'm glad they took the focus off at that point, right or wrong. Once Goodell said his piece, you know, there's a lot to that narrative to be unfolded. But then it got down to football, and I appreciate the Chargers head coach. His name escapes me right now, but he was like, listen, there's a home for him somewhere in the NFL, but they were saying he's been out of football for 3 years. Now, if you go back to Jordan and you think about The Last Dance, when he did his baseball experiment, he was gone a year, right? And he came back, and it was a little rough and rusty for him. So if Kaepernick does sign with the team, you know, there's going to be some rust there, but I hope they don't trash him and saying he wasn't that good. Michael Jordan took a minute before he came back and was really Jordan. In fact, I believe it was Orlando who beat them the year he came back when Horace Grant was down there with the Magic. So whoever Colin lands with, you know, give him a fair opportunity. I doubt he'll be a starting quarterback. Like the Chargers coach said, it might be a case in an emergency, but it'll be good to see, if anything, the symbolism of it, of him coming back to the NFL and being on the field. Because I completely understand. You know how many times I've been pulled over? Wunda, I know you can relate to this. And just in Plainfield, right? Just making a right turn right there on Plainfield Ave, and your car's a little different. And they hitting you for nothing back in the day, right? And I've been in situations where it's gone south. So what he knelt for, I will always applaud him for. Just like when Ali stood up for what he stood up for at the time, and I said this before, at the time, in certain circles, mainstream America, it wasn't accepted. But he went on to be considered the greatest and embraced and endured by the country. And Kaepernick, years down the road, they're not going to give it to him right now, but years down the road in the history book, they're always going to acknowledge him in some way for saying, modern day, in the new millennium, he stood for social change. Debate me, anybody.
Well, he does other things in the community that's more and bigger than football. So
Absolutely.
even if they don't give him those accolades from football, okay, the average career is 3 to 5 years. He went 6, and then now he's doing things that are actually that's why he's not doing a lot of talking, because he's out there doing, so for that, he gets the props on that part. Hey man, he might be like, you know what, I got something better to do than football right now. I did that. It was fun. They showed who they are. So now I'm out. Let me go help some people that really need this help. Let me get this assistance to where it needs to be and be known for my works rather than being able to run, jump, and throw a ball.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think,
go ahead, Wunda.
No, I'm sorry. Oh, no, I was going to say, I don't know how I feel about him coming back now. Not so much because he took the money. This is just my thought. I don't think he took the money. People looked at it as though the NFL paid him to go away, but they paid him because they didn't want to go down that road of fessing up that they started collusion to keep him out. So, if he wants to come back, that's one thing. I don't know how I feel about him coming back. If he does come back, I'd like to see him in the front office somewhere. Maybe, because they always say that they're always trying to create these apparatuses within the NFL now to keep their finger on the pulse of consciousness concerning minorities. Mm-hmm. Give them a position in the front office. Can he come back? If the only reason I would like to see him come back is if, first of all, I believe he's in shape. I believe he has kept himself in shape. I believe that now in terms of his rust, the rust is going to be there. But I think rust is there with most players, especially when there's no physical contact and you're just, going through the motions of throwing passes and going through drills. In that respect, he's kept himself in shape. But also, he just accepted a job as a board member for a media platform that puts out social media. And so I don't know, maybe, to Geronimo's point, he's so entrenched in his philanthropy and in his work that he may actually be too busy. And, right. So, my only concern is that the man makes a living doing something. If he comes back to the NFL, even if they decide to bring him on, I'll be tuned in. Or if they bring him in the front office, then I'll come back to football, but in some way.
Well, I was going to ask you, does that mean, because listen, they did apologize. All right, they did apologize. They opened up the door for him, so because I'm dying to trash you on the Cowboys, so I need you back.
Oh, listen, you know what? And right now, one of the most visceral opponents to this whole thing is the owners of the Cowboys. He's been very outspoken. He's given idle threats, maybe not idle threats, maybe they were real, in terms of basically he sent out a message. The way I read it is, you better not kneel. You better not kneel.
But you know what?
Why the national anthem is going.
But you know what? The way things are going right now, I wouldn't be surprised if a whole bunch of people kneel.
My goodness, you're not going to be able to stop
just because they can, and it's going to be one of those. Now, what you going to do? Whole team knelt. What you going to do, man? So now,
what you going to do? Forfeit? You going to forfeit?
Yeah, you going to forfeit? You don't want to take that loss. You don't even want to take that loss when we play hard and they play a little bit better than we do. So now, what are you going to do?
That's been something I've said from day one, that if everybody got behind him from day one and
would never be right here now.
What are you going to do? Yeah, what are you going to do?
Because the
saying is money talks, though.
But you know what? If the focus would, you know how people try to get off track, and we all know we talk to somebody and then we're talking about one thing and they go off track, and you got to kind of bring them back. When they tried to take us off track, instead of following them down that rabbit hole, which is you know what? Nice that you feel that way, but we're talking about police brutality. Let's come on back to this conversation that you keep running from. Let's come back to this conversation. I don't care about the flag. I don't care about the anthem. You feel about that way? That's you. Let's talk about people getting killed over here. Let's get back to the real conversation. Y'all can talk about that when y'all having y'all Milwaukee best and smoking them Camels and calling us out our name. You can do that later. But right now we're talking about people dying. So let's get back on track. You know what I'm saying? He didn't kneel for you to drink that Milwaukee best and call me a nigga. I'm sorry. That wasn't what we're talking about.
Right. But listen. Here's why, right? Because I got to get this point across. Here's why I have to get Kaepernick back on. For me, if I had my way, it's the same way when Ali came back to the ring and he went on to become a 3-time world champ. Now, I don't know if Cap's gonna win another Super Bowl, but when Ali came back after everything he had been through, we united that much stronger. It was a moment. It was a conscious moment in America. And they went from hating to loving Ali because he stood on his principles, his morals, and for social change. And it was the same thing for Kaepernick. He stood for the same things. So to see the gladiator, because what gave him his platform, right, was the NFL. Without the NFL, he's an activist in the community. He can have a great voice. All of us are activists in our community, but we don't have the platform of the NFL. So it was the NFL that really said, you can't do that. Like the boxing commission did for Ali, follow me, right? But when he came back, everyone pulled. They knew he was on the right side of history, Ali. And it's the same thing for Kaepernick, even if it's just a season. Yeah.
What if he just pulled the biggest chess move ever? He probably saved up all them damn checks before he started kneeling. So he wasn't hurting for no dollars. And then he pimped him on some more money so he can go do this philanthropy. He probably was like, I'm tired of playing football. It's about time that I go ahead and let this go. So now that they arguing about this over here, let me stay quiet. I'm not going to jump in it. You notice he never got in the mix of that madness. And he just kept working. Maybe he pulled the ultimate power move on the NFL and kept them checks and then pimped them out some more money. And he like, look, y'all talk about me coming back. Man, I'm good. I used what I had to get what I needed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm walking back
I'm just saying.
I'm walking back in the arena. I make the statement, then I say, you know what? I made it back. It's Ali-esque, just a tad, and then I walk out. For me, I would, and again, opinions vary, and this is why we have let's talk about it, right? Opinions vary.
I think that there are some parallels with him being like an Ali, because when he first began his campaign of kneeling, he knew, he's an intelligent young man. He knew that there was going to be some reprisal. Mm-hmm. He knew that recourse was going to come down from the suits of the NFL, and he knew that they were going to, sooner or later, that they were going to, take up recourse, and they did. And one can say that whoever is against this, like you said, BlaQ Ops, I don't even think it's going to be as long as an Ali thing. This was something that was in real time in terms of, definitely in your face, that we could see. You have to understand, the Nation of Islam back then and their stance against war was something that was not so overt, and it wasn't as understandable. The Nation of Islam were boogeymen back then. They were really boogeymen back then, right?
True.
But this whole police brutality had spiked maybe 5 years before he did what he did. So and the reason I say that is because, contrary to popular belief, there were many Black folk who were also upset with Ali.
That's what Frazier represented, right? Absolutely.
Joe Frazier criticized Ali and said, you know, it's not like he's going to go to war. You know, Joe
Louis,
Brown Bomber, Joe Louis, he did it. All he
right.
put him in an exhibition tour, but he was missing the whole point because he was uneducated in regards of why Ali took the stance. So I think it was a little more complicated, but with Kaepernick, he's definitely a parallel. You could make a parallel to him, but the reason why I say I don't think it'll take so long for history to catch up and say we were wrong, because immediately most Black people got what he was doing.
Could identify.
Most Black people, and even to some extent, a lot of not a lot, but white folks knew what he was doing.
They knew.
You know, whether they agreed or not, they knew. And those who disagreed purposely tried to create a straw man and switch the focus on disrespecting the flag and disrespecting the national anthem when it had nothing to do with that. So I think he'll go down in history a lot faster of being, you know, the likes, Ali-esque type of.
Right, for the millennium. And I hope so. That's why I said anywhere, I don't think past 20, but before that, but he will always be credited with that. Like he'll go, like Ali did his speaking series when they stripped him of his title. And before that, Kaepernick's going to do his soon. I believe that's going to come to pass for him. And but sometimes, and I always, even in my very humble life, in my very humble travels, sometime when you stand on an island and you go in a different direction, even though folks will change and turn on you, sometimes even family, if you know your turn or your change or your direction that you're going in is right, you might have to walk on that path by yourself ultimately.
Yep.
And I always say there's a distinct difference between family and relatives. Family is behind you. Relatives are related to you by blood only.
Same family.
Right. And if life has taught me one thing, right, especially as you travel and your horizons expand, right, family and relatives are two different beasts. And family got behind and never abandoned Kaepernick. Joe Frazier, who was a relative to Ali, abandoned him. And that's why he wanted him so bad. And if you remember the fight that they had, right, it was split. You had the social elite behind Frazier, and you had conscious America, Black America, behind Ali. And what did Ali do? He took him away from the American shores and said, come on down here to the Philippines. Let me give you some act right. Right?
The thriller in Manila.
And
took him into deep waters.
Right. And therein lies that position. But that's a long, let's keep it real moment, but let's just keep it real. Colin was right.
Right. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Nothing
wrong with it, bro.
Listen, history is proven to be, like, we're living in his. I had this conversation too. I was on the phone the other night with a writer from Rolling Stone, and we had a great conversation, and we were both talking about the historic times that we're living through. And he's a writer. I love the guy. I'm not gonna say his name out, but great guy. And we had an incredible conversation. And for those of us who are going to live another 30 years, we're going to tell these stories, right? We're going to say we were there when that change happened, when all of America, Black and white, realized that all lives, right, are to be valued. Black lives matter. Chokeholds are wrong. 401 years of oppression is wrong, right? And just like we united, you have to give our white counterparts who are in the fray and bloody with us their just due as well.
Right.
Because there were a lot of them in those lines who were bloody with us. Let's keep that real. So that's it for me on that. we still got to get to Wunda and Dean Geronimo. So, all right, I'll give Wunda in a sec. Dean Geronimo, what you got? And then one, I know you're gonna bring some thunder. So, right.
I'm just looking to see what happens, especially like down here in Atlanta. There's been a whole bunch of back and forth about whether that officer was right or wrong. I'm being taught that you don't shoot a fleeing suspect, regardless.
In the back. How do you explain that?
And then you say, okay, a taser is a weapon. Well, it's a less lethal option, yes, but it was running. He's already drunk, and he turned around to fire a taser at you. You know what I mean? Like, for all those in law enforcement that had to be trained by way of being hit with that taser, you know what it feels like, but it ain't gonna kill you unless it's used for an extremely long period of time. So now he's running from you. He turns around and points even if he fires it, you have on a vest, so even if the hooks do sink into the shirt, still not gonna shock you. I mean, what happened to just giving my man a ride home? You know what? I got your keys. I got your license. I'm going to go ahead. We're going to leave your car right here. I'm going to go ahead and drop you off at wherever you're going. And tomorrow, you come down to the police station, get your keys, get your license, and keep it moving. It's common sense. It's common sense. Everybody's still alive. He's going to be a little hungover, so he might mess up, like come down there. I can't get my keys. For what? Oh, yeah. I lost it. Whatever you say, but at least he's alive to do that. You let the officer allow emotion to be his guide. So now, you took my taser and you pointed at me, I'm going to shoot you in the back. That was automatically murder. A lot of people say he's going to get off. I'm like, nah, that's murder, Jack. And you down there in Georgia, you about to eat all of that. You know what I mean?
Listen, I'll give the point of reference to Plainfield, my beloved hometown. Listen, I've walked out of the Elks, St. Mary's, Chandelier, Motorcycle Club, tore up when I did drink back in my day, tore up from the floor up, and I literally leaned my seat back in my car.
Yeah, went to sleep.
Went to sleep. Right? When I wake up, I'll head home. Right?
Yeah, like
we've all done it. Who hasn't done that?
Yeah. And then, like one officer told me, he said, "Don't get behind the wheel, man. They can still get you with the DUI joint, right?" So then I would just get in the back seat, dog. So now the car's running, the windows crack, all the doors locked, and the music playing. I'm in the back seat, done.
I would toss the keys in the back, straight up. I would crack my windows, toss my keys in the back, lean back, and that was it. Wake up in the morning, gotta go.
A young lady, she was coming from a club in Amboy, in Perth Amboy. This was years ago. Mm-hmm. And she had her car running. She leaned her seat back and she was asleep because she had too much to drink. The officer tapped on her window and told her he told her somewhat what Geronimo said. But here was the thing. He said, and this is what she told me that police told her. Somebody can fact check. He said, even if the car is running, you can still be hit with a DUI. You have to turn the car off. Yep. And it was in the wintertime. And they said, but if you leave the car running and you sleep, no matter where you at in the car, I guess if the officer wants to be an asshole, can still hit you with a DUI or with something. But they said you have to turn the car off. Now, once again, I got this through third party, so someone can fact check.
You're correct, because they said that the mindset and the train of thought is at any time you can get into the driver's seat and pull off. You may or may not be over your state of inebriation, but with the vehicle still running, there's a higher probability that even if you're in the backseat, if you decide to crawl over and say, you know what, I'm going to just go ahead and go home, and you put it in drive. So now you're actually able to drive under the influence. I'm not saying you weren't with the car off, but when you can just put your foot on the brake, pull down twice, and then hit the gas and go, rather than trying to start the car. By the time you lean over a little bit, something else might happen. So that's just how that train of thought is on that, and it's a weird one, but they've got people with it.
I would toss the keys in the back, lean back. If it was winter time, like it didn't happen too many times, but they were clear. Like there's a one of my boys from back in the, he always watches the show. He's out in Hawaii. Chris Limbrick. Chris, if you watching, come up online because Chris was with me one time, and we went up to St. Mary's and listen, and it was on a Thursday night. And if you remember, I know you remember Thursday nights at St. Mary's. That used to be rocking. And we came out of there, and I called myself trying to, we don't see people in a while. They, they give you shots, and your ego's like, we got shot all night. And but I got my car. I was like, yo, we ain't going nowhere. And right. And like tossed the keys in the back. The next morning, it was like 10, 11 o'clock when I woke up. I was like, hey, Limbo was right. I call him Limbo. Limbo was right next to me. I was like, yo, I'm a little kid. I'm like, yo, I'm in trouble. We gotta go. But it beat getting a DUI, and you knew what it was like back then. So I was like, I gotta get out of here. But no, it's unfortunate. And think about this, like the Zans in Newark, New Jersey, a lot of people knew going to the Zans, like, because it wasn't gonna break to the wee hours of the morning anyway. You was just gonna go get a room in the back. You just said to yourself, you know what? I'm here. Like, there's no way I'm making it from Newark down Route 22 and having to go through Hillside and all that. You ain't making it through that. No. Especially in the cars that we had, you was getting pulled over. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. So you came out there, it's like, yo, I'm crashing. That's how it was. Right. Like, there's a lot of people right now watching the show shaking their head just like this. I can relate. Right? I can relate. Right. So, but no, always good stuff. Dean Geronimo, good point, man. And it's that climate. And it's funny because when you're driving and you still see it come, you still kind of do that eye lock thing. Like, man, I hope this doesn't go down. And I said this too, and this was to the one writer. And I said, I think if I could, put it in context, I said some, not all, but some relate seeing us on the road to like going to Africa and hunting that beast. They wanted to put that trophy on their wall to say, I've got it. I'm nobody's trophy. I'm nobody's beast. I'm a man like anybody else. Like, you're not out there to hunt. You're out there to protect and serve. Remember we were at the 46th Street pub?
Yep.
And remember, I'm the only one who really doesn't drink.
Doesn't drink.
And I had the cops surrounding my car. And the cop was like, yeah, you just hit the bartender in the head with a bottle. I was like, what?
Nah,
and he was like,
me.
and his thing was, you fit the description. I was like, oh, let me guess. 5'10" to 6 foot, bald-headed black guy. Man, walk back in there. You're gonna see about 20. You're
gonna see 20 of us in there.
Right. And remember, they had me all blocked off and everything else. Yeah. And they brought the bartender out, and she looked at the cops like, man, that ain't him, man. I was like I didn't even make it to the bar.
He's still in the back smoking cigarettes.
Right. I was like, and right there, had I opened up my door, had I got out, I was like, wait a minute, because if you remember, like I had like 3 separate cops surrounding the car. I was like, what is going on? I was like, is my brake light out? Like, what?
Yeah, like,
what is
hey
going
y'all,
on?
you like, hey guys, how y'all doing? They like, oh, this fool drunk.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. And the lady, God bless her soul, was like, that's not him. You guys are wrong. She was like, what are you doing? But listen, they were ready to go in. And again, they wanted that. Yeah. They wanted that trophy on their wall with my head. I was like, are you kidding me?
And all it would have taken for them, if you had said, man, why you effing with me? I ain't do shit. And they would just jump right on in.
Boom. Then we would have been rocking, right?
Then it would have been like, ma'am, is this the guy? No, that's not him. Then like, oh shit. We
would have went back to Richard Pryor's scenario, like in his joke. Can you break one? You can break one of them. Yeah, that's right. So,
yeah, like
you can break one of them. right. And listen, that was, and that just, it reminds me, no matter what you do or how, just like the senator that got caught up, the state senator, no matter who you think you are,
right,
they want to remind you who you're not.
Oh, they're gonna tell you.
That's what they want to do. So, but no, that's good. So I want to make sure I get listen. We can go all day, but I want to get I want to get Wunda in here because I know he got some fire for us today. What you got, Wunda?
Well, I know everybody's been following what's been trending, something very disturbing, and that's been something going on with our young men that are being found hung, lynched, and public officials are ruling these things out as suicide. And so I saw a meme, and I agree, I concur. And I want to say to all who are watching this, I am not suicidal. I don't care how hard times get. I'm not suicidal. I didn't kill myself.
Right.
God forbid, should anybody find me at the end of a noose. And so there are a couple of brothers. There's one in Los Angeles. His name is Robert Fuller. He was only 24 years old. There's another brother named Malcolm Harsh. And then there's another brother named Dominic Alexander. And I believe there are some others. And so, this has been trending on a lot of the timelines on social media. And, I'm just foolish enough to believe that this is blowback. The needle is slightly moving in a sense with, you have Black Lives Matter and you have a lot of protesters on the ground. They have boots on the ground. People are hearing them. A lot of these statues of these old rebel Civil War heroes are being toppled. And, I said this early in the game that they're not going to be happy about that. And I'm sure there's going to be pushback. Now, what that looks like, I don't know. One could make the argument. Maybe it's these lynchings. I don't believe that these were all suicides. I just don't believe that.
I don't believe any of them were suicides.
Yeah, a couple of years back, there was some other hangings just a few years back. Mm-hmm. And there was one, she wasn't hung, but she was a woman, African-American woman, older woman. She was a judge. She was a Muslim judge. And she was also, she was Muslim. That was her religion, but she was a judge. And she was also an activist. And they regarded her as an activist judge. And she saw to it that, law enforcement were going to pay for things that they did. And lo and behold, she went missing. And they found her later. I think they dredged her up from a river or somewhere, found her dead. So I say all of that to say that, and one of the as a matter of fact, I was watching an interview on Roland Martin, and he had one of the founders of Black Lives Matter, one of the sisters on there. And she said that while we need you to support us in these areas, one thing she highlighted, and she said, also, we need you to look after us, to support us in terms of our lives. She said, because, our lives are being threatened. A lot of Black Lives Matters in these grassroots groups. The one brother who led a number of grassroots movements and protests in Missouri when Mike Brown was shot and killed, they found him dead in his car, said suicide. These are young students who have their whole life ahead of them, who are highly intelligent, who, they're going to be something when they get older. And they're probably going to not only just be something in terms of on a monetary side, but they're also going to make a lot of change and progress for people of the voiceless. And so this opposition sees this. They know this. And so, I think that we need to do our due diligence in looking after each other, being careful, and just watching ourselves, not jumping out of the car willy-nilly at night, check your surrounding areas, all that stuff. all that it takes. Consider, now you have to really consider about getting yourself maybe possibly a legal firearm. I know the state of New Jersey, it's not open carry, but listen, you never know who will show up at your house at night, and that BlaQ Ops, you're into self-defense. You may want to get yourself some business cards, and I'm sure you have people who are reaching out.
Teaching that Krav Maga, dog.
So these are things that, as if it isn't enough, compounded with the pandemic of COVID, this pandemic of racial injustice, and now we have embittered people who are pushing back. And we have to be careful because, it seems surreal because it's not at our doorstep, but God forbid it's one of our loved ones. Because then I got to get off the radar.
Right. Like I told my son, I was like, don't kid yourself out there. Don't stop it. Wawa, late night. Come on home. Like, if it's really that important, come get me. And listen, we'll rock out together at that point. Like, I'm a firm believer in this. If you are attacking my person because of the color of my skin and you feel you're trying to take my life, one of us are not going home. One of us are not going home.
And I ain't volunteering to go to the afterlife.
Yeah.
But, so, and it's clearly something. Listen, I get along with, pretty much everyone. But when you come at me because of my hide, per se, and you want to put a trophy on your wall, or there's some ideology that drives you to that, like, I can't be put in the ground without the fight. If I lose the fight, y'all say, I know BlaQ Ops gave it everything he had. Everything he had. There's nothing wrong, with that. But just to be complicit and just to say, okay, I'm gonna get in the van. Hell no. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
Right.
Like, you can find me wherever, but the fight is the fight. Like, with that. Like, it's a horrible position, right? And you would hope that modern day lynches aren't taking place. But like you said, there's a good chance that they are, and you have to have your situational awareness. Like, don't kid yourself. Don't kid yourself. Somebody says, hey, boy, you better get your, up and like, don't play. Don't, at that moment, nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
Don't argue for what?
Fight or flight, right?
Yeah, argue for what?
Yeah.
Right.
So my overarching message is just be careful. And we got to start looking out for each other. We really do. And I mean that in a sense of, if something doesn't look right, you see I see young ladies. When we're at the studio for Let's Talk About It, I see young ladies coming and going from the train station all the time. You all see it.
Yeah.
And just in the recesses of my mind, unconsciously, I have my eye on them. Or I'm looking, I'm always looking. I'm always looking around, but I keep my eye on them. And there's one particular sister who I know, she never sees me because we're all talking and it's from afar. But when I see her, I'm like, oh, I know that sister. And I'm always watching her. She walks to her car like, okay, So, I mean, just things like that. Let's just try to be vigilant and keep our antennas up for ourselves and for our brothers and sisters out there, whether we know them or not.
Yeah. Absolutely. And trying times, and listen, get out and vote. Get out and vote. It's never too early to say that. And we did a census drive recently. That's why Dean Geronimo is smiling. Get out and vote. They count us as a people, but count our vote, right?
Yes, sir.
Count our vote. Listen, and one thing that I have the viewing audience. Listen, there's a great documentary out there. Ulysses S. Grant is a great documentary, and he was the general that led the Union over the rebels during the Civil War. Like, I was glued to the documentary from like the moment it came on, I turned on the TV, I was like, man, it is a great documentary. And you want to talk about having to stand on an island and overcoming, incredible odds in his life. That was a great documentary. And they show his relationship with Lincoln and understanding the emancipation. And as we talk about Juneteenth, like a lot of people come off as conscious, but you got to understand the entire picture,
right?
What led to it. Don't pick pockets, understand the complete movement, going all the way back to slavery, coming out of that, the units who fought with the Union for their own freedom. Like there's so much to that. So it's a 3-night series. At this point, you can get it on demand. But if you got time, you really need to watch that. Ulysses S. Grant was ahead of his time with his thinking. He really was. And he understood what being a free man or, the emancipation of a people meant. And that's why him and Lincoln were lockstep. And without him, who knows what the narrative would be right now and understanding the battles. So you can never forget your history, as we always say, right? Or you doomed to repeat it. Yes?
Correct.
So go back and look at that documentary. It's an incredible documentary. I will forever be a Ulysses S. Grant fan after watching that. I will. And especially after you understand who his wife was and where her family was on the side of the fence. And he still was like, here we go. So a lot to it, but I won't take it away from you. But anyway, it's about that time. It's 8:00. Dean Geronimo, what you got? And then I'll go to Wunda and then I'll close this out.
It's time for us to start working together. We can agree to disagree, but at the end of the day, it's always a bigger picture that we need to move forward with. So the time is now for us to start doing that so that we can make some positive, effective change, especially for the generations that come behind us. And with that, happy Juneteenth, y'all. And when you walk outside your front door, showtime and the world is your stage. Just make sure that people are not watching the rehearsal. With that being said, it's Dean Geronimo. Y'all have an outstanding weekend, man.
All right. I don't mean to choke. I just watched the Pemberton cops come. Not Pemberton, but the which were Boardtown cops that swung around right behind. You can't make this stuff up. Oh my goodness! All right, Wunda, what you got?
All right, so we have our Zoom chats on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Every Tuesday, 7 p.m. I want to shout out Dean Geronimo for being on one of those first calls, and you weighing in was thank you for contributing.
No doubt, bro.
We've been having them consistently, and speaking about not forgetting to vote. God willing, we are going to have a former representative who sat in Congress. He used to be a minister in our organization. He used to be the local pastor of our Atlanta Tabernacle. His name is John Eves. Google him. He also ran for mayor of Atlanta. Obviously, he did not win, but he's still in government. And so we hope to have him on because our discussion was about not just voting, but also putting money behind the vote to literally finance and back a candidate who will speak to the issues. Right? So in terms of like, how do we go about forming our own super PAC, or just like the Tea Party did, right? They put not just votes, but they put money behind the vote for candidates who are going to speak to their issues. And so join us this Tuesday, 7 p.m. Check out my timeline. Seymour Pettygrove or Mau Mau. Y'all know the page. And that's it.
All right. And listen, Wunda, I go at 100 miles an hour. Dean Geronimo already knows that as my LB. Please, just a quick text. Hey, Hogs, we on. So I can jump on there. I got a million fires going.
You were on. You came on. I know you had other things going on, so you caught the of it.
Yeah, I hit him up. He was in a meeting when I hit him up.
Yeah. So, thank you both. Thank you both.
Right.
For
It
sure,
seems
bro.
like that's my life, but I want to be there. Like I said, and Wonder, we go back to the 80s, brother, when we both had hair. So you my dude with that. But no, I just, before we get out of here, like you said, just to echo everyone's sentiments, it's pretty much the same narrative. Be safe, continue to move forward to change. I don't want to say this too shall pass because it's been 401 years, but hopefully, as you stated, the needle is moving a little bit, but it's going to take it to be done from everybody, all sides with that, from Congress, the Senate, or the House and the Senate, from the neighbors to the school teachers to your everyday average citizen. It's time for that change. It's a historic moment, and I'm glad that the consciousness of America is finally understanding, and it's understanding the plight of what our people, has been going through. Anytime you get the GOP to say, listen, we're going to change the names of those bases, regardless of what the president says, that's saying a lot.
A lot.
That's saying a lot. You're talking about the GOP, and they normally fall in a lockstep, but they came out quick and said, no, within 3 years, those bases will be changed. So it's a narrative. So you have to recognize that moment. And Wonder, I hope we get there with Kaepernick, because Lord knows I want to trash you about the Cowboys, especially Zeke coming up.
He's got the coronavirus, man. Lay off of him.
Right. Right. But I look back to get to some normalcy here. Take care of your health. Take care of your families. And as we always say, at any time you want to call in or you want to come up on the chat in this go round, please do so. Like I said, our numbers are incredible. They're growing more and more. And it's funny because it's year 5 or 6 and the audience is still expanding. So as always, we appreciate. Go ahead.
Don't forget the replay next Thursday on the Level Podcast Network of this show.
Right. Yeah. And before we go, we got to shout out and thank you, Dean Geronimo. Shout out to the super producer who couldn't be there, Miss E, who's handling business, and to the CEO who makes it all happen, Storm Norm. Till next week or the week after, hit us up. Let's talk about it. We're out.
We out.
Take care. Peace.